We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. And always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on? We have to break down the Chicago Bears roster now that we have the practice squad is all figured out. So we want to break that down, talk a little bit about Blasing being back, what the heck is going on at long snapper, the offensive squad, the defensive squad, players that we lost, and then also some of the people that might actually be starting or might actually not be starting, but playing on the team this or next Sunday when the Bears play against the Titans. But also, one of the rumors that I think is going to start getting kicked up a little bit is Trent Williams, and I'll describe the reasons why that it might be coming up, but I want to explain it first just real quickly. If it becomes more, I'll have a separate episode on that, but I hope you're all doing well this week. Let's get right into it, and let's talk about Blasing being back. Also, for those watching, I wasn't able to add any graphics. Canva was having a little outage, so unfortunately, you're just going to see the logo up there, but still, we'll be able to go through everything. So let's talk about Blasing, because Blasing is now back. And just like what we said, Patrick Scales placed on IR. So now we have Dante Pettis, Patrick Scales, Simba Webster, and Ian Wheeler all on season-ending IR, while Larry Borum and Jacob Martin on the short-term IR. So ultimately, Blasing gets brought back. He is now on the true roster. So now he's back. It was just a quick little thing. And also, you can do this with a Blasing, just with him being fullback. But also, this goes on behind the scenes where if they know someone really well, they'll kind of say, hey, we'll just bring you back. That okay? Yeah, sure. Cut him, bring him back. All is well. Blasing is back. And now you kind of have the 3 tight ends and 1 fullback. But now, what is going to happen at the whole long snapper position? Because we were talking about when the Bears made their 53-man roster, I was bringing up the idea of, well, what if who are they going to get rid of in order to bring in a long snapper? Well, the Bears end up signing Scott Daly or Scott Daly, I don't know actually the exact pronunciation on this, onto the Chicago Bears practice squad. So what this kind of shows me is, okay, we're going to add you to the practice squad, but not on the active roster, and we will activate you day of. So there's also another person that the Bears might be activating day of off of the practice squad, but ultimately it seems like they're going to be activating their long snapper. So interesting move that the Bears are going to be doing with the whole long snapper position, keeping it on the practice squad and then activating day of. So very interesting. Like, to me, why not just put him on the active roster? But I guess with it being a long snapper, might as well. I would just like to keep him on the active roster just so that you know that he is truly on the active roster. And what if somebody poaches him? I mean, long snappers aren't easily poachable. Someone has to get injured, but still, like, it's a little different, little bit interesting that we're doing it that way. But let's talk about the offensive squad. And on the defensive squad, I'll bring up the person who is rumored to be getting activated when the Bears play against the Titans. So let's talk about this offensive squad that we have now that we see it kind of filling out. So right now we have Theo Benedict, the Canadian Eagle. He is on the practice squad, rookie, 22 years old, out of British Columbia. So nice to see him there. So it really does show Bears must like him. Jake Curhan, the offensive tackle as well, is re-signed onto the practice squad, 26 years old, 4-year pro. You could kind of expect that they wanted more of a veteran on it just in case if someone does, in fact, go down on that offensive tackle line, with Larry Borum being on that short-term IR. And then also Chris Glazer, somebody who was just added today. Chris Glazer being more of a center. Played for the New York Jets, gets brought on. He's only 24 years old, a 2-year pro. But then also, the Bears bring back quarterback Austin Reed on the practice squad, and we'll talk about Brett Rippon a little bit later on, but Brett Rippon, not part of the practice squad. Austin Reed is. So I'm actually curious. People down below in the comments that are watching on YouTube, what do you think about this? Are you excited that Austin Reed's back? Because, hey, Austin Reed didn't look terrible out there. I just find it interesting that they're like, hey, we're going to go with the very young quarterback room, which I'm kind of fine with. Like I said, if Brett Rippon already had if you already felt good about the quarterback room and you felt like you didn't necessarily need the veteran presence out there, then yeah, more than fine with that. And it clearly seems like they are fine with it with going with Austin Reed on the practice squad. And then next, Stephen Carlson at tight end, again on the practice squad, 27 years old out of Princeton. But then we also have wide receivers. Colin Johnson, like we predicted, on the practice squad. He's 26 years old. I'll just move my head up a little bit to show Samori Toure, the new person that the Bears added onto the practice squad out of Nebraska, 26 years old, 3-year pro, 6'1", 191. And what I can tell you a little bit about him, because former Green Bay Packer, Toure has all the measurables you want. Even though that he's less than 200 pounds, I remember him testing very well at his pro day, and he just he has the NFL body, the NFL speed that you want. He only had 1 year, though, in the FBS with Nebraska, which he did pretty well. But since coming over, just hasn't been that great for the Packers. Ultimately, Bears add him onto the practice squad. So a solid wide receiver pickup. I don't think it's amazing, but honestly, he's done something in the NFL. He's actually played games, so having him on the practice squad, I'm more than fine with. I really think that then Colin Johnson is that primary backup that you'd want to activate on to the actual active roster if necessary. But that's the offensive side. So let's flip over to the defense, where the defense, we have 8 total people, Tavarius Moore, Reddy Stewart, and Ro Torrance as the defensive back. So Tarvarius Moore as the backup over who we had with Adrian Colbert. So I was a little surprised by that. So really, I did think that Moore played better the final game. So I think ultimately the Bears must have brought that into consideration and really liked what they saw out of Moore, even though Colbert has been just a reliable veteran player for the Chicago Bears over the last year. But then you have Reddy Stewart that everybody loves, 23 years old, the 23-year-old rookie, but then also Ro Torrance as well, the defensive back, rookie out of Arizona State, being on the Bears practice squad as well. But then we go to the D-line. This is where we have Byron Cowart, Jamry Chroma, and also Sam Roberts, who was added today. And this is where we talk about who's going to be activated, because what Adam Schefter reported is that Sam Roberts, the 3-year pro out of Northwestern Missouri State, who was just signed to the practice squad today, the rumor is that he, actually not rumor, what Adam Schefter mentioned is that he should be the one that actually gets activated on game day for Zacch Pickens. It seems like Zacch Pickens is not on schedule to play game 1. So what they're going to do is put Sam Roberts ahead of that and bring him up. I don't know how I feel about that, because personally, I look at it like a Byron Cowart, where I go, well, he played pretty well for you, and Sam Roberts is nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. And to me, I'd rather go with someone that you know with the system, know with the scheme, that you feel like you want to bring up. And if you're curious, well, is Sam Roberts huge? No, he's actually under 300 pounds. He's 6'5", 295. So it's not like he's a gigantic body or brings something completely different. But the other thing that I found very interesting was Jamry Chroma being the person that they brought back on the practice squad. So we all know that he's this big, giant athlete, 6'4", 275 at defensive end. And I did find it was interesting that they brought him back, because I didn't really see much out of him. So they must think like, hey, let's put him in this NFL locker room. Let's have him just keep on practicing, keep getting better, and maybe the sky's the limit for him. So maybe that's what they just want to see what they can get out of this player. So maybe that's where they're hoping that they can coach him up a little bit more. But then the last practice squad players, Micah Baskerville and also Carl Jones. So Micah Baskerville, 1-year pro out of LSU, and also Carl Jones, the rookie out of UCLA. We saw Carl Jones play a little bit better towards, kind of throughout the preseason, and Micah Baskerville playing very well throughout the preseason. So ultimately keeping 2 linebackers, 3 defensive linemen, 2 at D tackle, 1 at D end, and then also 3 defensive backs. So ultimately, that is the practice squad, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, things will change. People will be moved up. People will be moved down. Unfortunately, injuries happen. It's just the way of the NFL. But let's talk about the players lost, because there were a couple that are at least noteworthy. Number one, we already talked about Brett Rippon, mainly with them adding Austin Reed. Brett Rippon, they kind of let them see the door. And Brett Rippon ultimately going to a different team. I forgot where off the top of my head. But like I said, if the Bears are willing to move on from Brett Rippon, I like the idea of not having 3 backup quarterbacks, especially if you feel good about Tyson Bagent, which every indication, you should feel good about Tyson Bagent. You should feel comfortable with him playing more meaningful snaps. So to me, more than fine with that. Sad to see him go, but also Brendan Bates, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Kentucky, was claimed off of waivers, which is incredibly unfortunate because I think he was actually the highest graded tight end in the NFL in the preseason. So Brendan Bates playing very well, and ultimately Bears ended up losing him. So good luck to Brendan Bates. Maybe he comes back later on, or if he goes back down to a practice squad, Bears can always steal him and then add him to the active roster, then eventually move him down to the practice squad. So unfortunately, we lose kind of 2 key ones that we were kind of hoping to potentially bring back. Rippon, I don't know if we were actually hoping to bring back, but Brendan Bates definitely was someone that got poached from the Chicago Bears. So now let's wrap things up with a little bit of rumors. Like I said, I don't really want to go through this too much because this might amplify a little bit more, but I just want to let people know, watch out there on Twitter because it's already starting to fire up. Why? Because exactly the same way that the reasons why this whole CeeDee Lamb thing started popping up with Micah Parsons. CeeDee Lamb gets a deal. Bears fans start saying, well, Micah Parsons. Now we have Brandon Ayuk getting a brand new deal, and then Bears fans saying, well, Trent Williams, because Trent Williams continues to sit out of the 49ers camp. And I'd say that's the biggest difference. Trent Williams is actually sitting out. Trent Williams actually wants a new deal, even though he has 3 years left. So he's 36 years old. So I get the whole idea of, hey, we don't want to pay him extra money because the wheels could easily fall off. But he's still playing like the best left tackle in all of at the NFL. So I think that's where they don't want to pay him. But I think ultimately what the 49ers should do, I could see them just saying, hey, here's some extra money for you. And then ultimately Trent Williams still being there. But also another reason why you're going to see it start to get a little bit more traction is right when the Brandon Ayuk signing happened. None other than Kyle Long, Chicago Bear. He's got a new podcast out there and everything. Awesome to see him doing some stuff. Posts out a picture of Ryan Poles on the phones, which then caused everybody to go, so what is this? What's going on? Does he know something that no one else knows? And he's like, nah, just posting this out. But yet again, you don't know if it's legit. You don't know if it isn't. And we will do what fans do. We'll speculate because, hey, adding Trent Williams on the left side, that'd be pretty freaking cool. Because then Braxton Jones can be your swing tackle. Then you feel a lot more comfortable. Then you go, okay, Amagashi is then the backup. Oh, this offensive line looks really good. Maybe you have Braxton Jones as shift him down into guard, right? It makes it very, very flexible. But honestly, if you could get Trent Williams, that would be pretty cool. If you could, maybe it would be one of your seconds or something like that. If it was the first, heck no. He's 36 years old, right? That's what I'd be curious about is what would the actual going rate be? But you see what they're able to do with him as just an absolute mauler on that left side and also someone that you know is going to protect the blind side. Awesome. It would seriously be super cool. Just amazing if they ended up landing him. But like I said, we'll see, but we will keep you covered. So if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she's a